Welcome to the Ikios Zone. Jazz is a genre that embodies the spirit of innovation and cultural fusion, rooted in the African American experience in the United States. Its origins can be traced back to the late 19th and early 20th centuries, particularly in New Orleans, Louisiana, a city that served as a melting pot for various musical traditions and cultural influences. The foundations of jazz were laid by a combination of African musical elements, European harmonic structures, and the influences of blues and ragtime. African rhythms and musical practices, such as call and response patterns, improvisation, and complex polyrhythms, merged with European instruments and melodies. This cross-pollination of musical styles reflected the social dynamics of the time, as African Americans navigated their identities in a post-slavery society. Early influences. Key elements of early jazz included blues, a genre that emerged from the African American experience in the Deep South. The emotional depth of blues music, characterized by its use of the 12-bar structure and expressive vocal styles, became a crucial component of jazz. Meanwhile, ragtime, a piano-based genre characterized by syncopated rhythms, provided a rhythmic foundation that would greatly influence jazz musicians. In the early 1900s, the vibrant nightlife of New Orleans provided fertile ground for jazz. The city's Storyville district, known for its brothels and music clubs, became a hotspot for musicians to perform. Here, the sounds of brass bands, gospel music, and the blues converged, paving the way for the birth of jazz. The birth of jazz. The term jazz itself is believed to have originated in the early 20th century, though its precise origins are unclear. The first recorded jazz band, the original Dixieland Jazz Band, released a version of Livery Stable Blues in 1917, which helped popularize the genre beyond New Orleans. Their music was characterized by collective improvisation, syncopated rhythms, and a lively spirit, which captured the essence of the burgeoning jazz scene. As jazz gained popularity, it began to spread to other cities, particularly Chicago and New York. The Great Migration, which saw a mass movement of African Americans from the rural South to urban centers in the North, played a significant role in this dissemination. Musicians like Louis Armstrong and King Oliver became instrumental in bringing New Orleans-style jazz to a broader audience, while artists like Duke Ellington and Bessie Smith emerged as icons in the Chicago and New York scenes. The swing era. By the 1930s, jazz had evolved significantly, leading to what is known as the swing era. This period was marked by the rise of big bands, larger ensembles that featured sections of brass, woodwinds, and rhythm instruments. Swing music emphasized a strong rhythm and was designed for dancing, making it immensely popular during the Great Depression. Notable band leaders such as Benny Goodman, Count Basie, and Glenn Miller became household names, and jazz began to permeate mainstream American culture. Swing music's appeal lay in its infectious rhythms and lively melodies, encouraging people to dance and enjoy communal gatherings. The era also saw the emergence of radio and phonograph records, which helped to disseminate jazz across the country. Dance marathons and swing contests became popular, creating a culture of jazz appreciation and participation. Bebop and modern jazz. As the 1940s approached, jazz began to undergo another transformation with the advent of bebop. This style, characterized by complex harmonies, fast tempos, and intricate melodies, marked a departure from the dance-oriented swing music of the previous decade. Pioneers like Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, and Thelonious Monk pushed the boundaries of jazz, focusing on individual virtuosity and improvisation. Bebop represented a more intellectual approach to jazz, attracting a new audience that appreciated its artistic complexity. It emphasized the role of the soloist, allowing musicians to showcase their technical skills and creativity. This shift laid the groundwork for subsequent jazz movements, including cool jazz, hard bop, and free jazz. The cool jazz movement. In the late 1940s and early 1950s, cool jazz emerged as a response to bebop. Musicians like Miles Davis, Chet Baker, and Dave Brubeck embraced a more relaxed, lyrical style characterized by smooth melodies and subtle harmonies. Cool jazz incorporated elements of classical music, creating a sophisticated sound that appealed to a diverse audience. The album Birth of the Cool by Miles Davis, released in 1957, exemplified this movement. It showcased arrangements that were more structured than traditional jazz, yet still allowed for improvisation. Cool jazz became synonymous with the West Coast jazz scene, contrasting with the more intense bebop style prevalent in New York. Hard bop and free jazz. The mid-1950s to the 1960s saw the rise of hard bop, a genre that combined elements of bebop with influences from blues, gospel, and R&B. Musicians like Art Blakey, Horace Silver, and Wayne Shorter brought a raw, energetic sound to the forefront, emphasizing rhythm and emotional experience. Around the same time, free jazz emerged as a radical departure from traditional structures. Artists like Ornette Coleman and John Coltrane pushed the boundaries of improvisation, rejecting conventional chord progressions and embracing atonality. Free jazz sought to explore the full range of human emotion and expression, often challenging listeners to reconsider their preconceived notions of music. Fusion and contemporary jazz. By the late 1960s and 1970s, jazz began to incorporate elements from rock, funk, and electronic music, leading to the development of jazz fusion. Artists like Weather Report, Chick Corea, and Herbie Hancock experimented with synthesizers and electric instruments, blending jazz with popular music styles. This era marked a significant evolution, expanding the boundaries of jazz and introducing it to new audiences. Today, jazz continues to evolve, drawing from a vast array of influences while retaining its core elements of improvisation and expression. Contemporary jazz artists blend genres and experiment with new sounds, ensuring that jazz remains a dynamic and ever-changing art form. Wrap up. From its humble beginnings in New Orleans to its current status as a global genre, jazz has undergone a remarkable evolution, shaped by cultural exchange, historical events, and the creative impulses of countless musicians. Its ability to adapt and innovate has ensured that jazz remains not only a vital part of American culture, but also a universal language of expression, transcending borders and resonating with audiences worldwide. As jazz continues to evolve, it retains its essence, a celebration of creativity, individuality, and the human experience.